Hey guys, so we made a TikTok and you've been loving it, you've been hating it, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what's been going on in the comments section.
Yeah, so loving it and hating it is the right way to describe this. There's a few things we want to talk to you guys about because, like we said when we first started, this is a dialogue, and it would be a weird dialogue if we were only talking and not listening back. So let's start with the specific one about Arab Jew. You said that in a sentence somewhere in one of the episodes, and people seem to latch on. So let's start there, Della. What are you thinking?
Of course. So people were extremely upset that I called myself an Arab Jew, saying I'm Mizrahi or I'm Sephardic and there's no such thing as an Arab Jew. Let me be very clear. I'm not going to move on this point. Every single culture influences our traditions, right? I'm not ethnically Hispanic. I am a Mexican Jew. I'm also a Latina Jew. There's a lot of things that I do in my Jewish traditions that are informed by my Latinidad and my Hispanicness. Right? That doesn't take away from the fact that I am a Sephardic Jew, right? I'm not actually a Mizrahi Jew. A lot of people were like, she's Mizrahi. I'm actually not Mizrahi. My family was originally in Spain and then they went to Syria and Lebanon. So I know I am Sephardic, but thank you to everyone who speculated I'm Mizrahi. That doesn't change the fact that Arab culture did very much influence the way I grew up. That's actually one of the reasons why we started this podcast is because Mariam's Christian, she's an Arab Christian, and a lot of our traditions are similar. A lot of the things that informed our cultures are similar. So I'm not an Arab Jew in that I'm ethnically Arab and I'm Jewish, right? I'm ethnically Jewish, but my culture and my tradition has been influenced by Arab culture. When I talked in that clip about the foods I eat at Shabbat, those aren't Jewish foods, right? Those are Middle Eastern foods. Those are Arab foods that I have at my Shabbat table, and those became my Shabbat foods. Why? Because my Jewish culture was influenced by the Arab culture that was around us. Just like Eastern European Jews, Western European Jews, Italian Jews, their culture was influenced by the countries that they were in. So that's all I meant by it. Everyone seemed to get very mad. I really appreciate all the responses. People went to war with each other in the comment section. Some of you guys defending me, some of you guys being like, she has no idea what she's talking about. But yeah, that's what I meant by it. You can keep taking issue with it, but I stand by it wholeheartedly.
And it's a conversation that happens all the time, right? I have conversations with my Arab Christian friends that take issue with me calling myself an Arab Christian because the whole point of being an Arab Christian, and it's redundant to use it so many times in the sentence, but to make the point, is that you're not Arab. It's that your ancestors pushed back against the Arab invasion and found a way, whether it be paying taxes or moving or finding a way to survive and not be converted to Islam so that you are Arabized. But it would be completely foolish of us to sit here and say we're not Arab. Mm-hmm. We have Arab influences. I am an Arab Christian. I speak Arabic. I eat Arabic food. It is a part of my identity to be an Arab, just like it is a part of your identity to be an Arab Jew. And if we're gonna try to take the Arab out of this, we're not talking about our DNA, our genetics. I'm fully aware that my DNA is Coptic. Adela is fully aware that her DNA is Jewish. But we cannot dismiss the fact that Arab influences have been poured onto our lives, onto our culture, onto our food, onto our language.
Actually, wanted to hop on the point of language.
Please do.
Because someone else said that by speaking English, I'm speaking the language of the colonizer, right? And then I said, well, what language would you want me to speak, right? Spanish? Because my family's not actually from Mexico, right? So then what language do you want me to speak? Arabic, but you're saying I'm not actually Arab, so that's not my actual language.
Yeah.
So do you want me to just speak Hebrew, which is not a language my family grew up speaking, right? All my grandparents really grew up speaking Arabic. My great-grandparents were speaking Arabic. Then my parents were speaking Spanish because they were in Mexico, and now I live in the United States, so I'm speaking English. So unless you're willing to say that all Jews should only be speaking Hebrew at all times, I really didn't understand where that comment was going. And the whole point of the first episode, second episode, third episode was to acknowledge the migrations that all of our families had to, at least Jewish families went through, right? Yeah. To acknowledge how many stops we had to make in each place, right? One of my great-grandparents is from Kilis, which is now Turkey, but, they spoke Arabic there because it was Syria back in the day. And it's like, where are we actually from? No idea. We're Jews, and we migrate, and we move, and we are kicked out, and we're brought back, and we settle, and we unsettle, and it's all of the things that Jews are. So when we made the note about languages, and people were like, oh, well, why don't you speak your own language? Well, which one do you want me to speak?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many. So, we also talked about gatekeeping culture, and it's one of those things that, like, my grandparents grew up speaking Arabic. That's a fact. That's something that's not going to change. I want to learn Arabic because it's what they speak. I'm not claiming it as my own, but I'm also not going to let go of the culture that shaped my traditions.
And to just end this on a high note, the point of Americanish is that there's like weird things about all of us, about our identity, who we identify as, religiously, socially, sociopolitically, and that it's a weird mix. Every single one of us is a weird mix, not just Adela and I. And if we're gonna be sticklers about who we are genetically, like, then what is an American? We have to ask way broader questions about our DNA and who we are as people. So, on that, thank you for checking out the TikTok. Thank you for all the comments. Keep them coming, and we'll see you next week.